My wife Diana is a leggy green-eyed blonde. I look more humble, a tall, blue-eyed brown-haired man with a shrapnel scar from a mine on his left cheek and graying temples. The memory of military service. We are 34 years old, and we have been together for 11 years. We have 2 children, Pavel and Kostyar, boys 10 and 8 years old. I work in a jewelry salon as an expert. I assess and conduct an examination of the authenticity of antique jewelry. My wife works in a beauty salon. Manicure, pedicure, haircut. She really likes her job, even though she has a college degree. She graduated from the University of Technology with a degree in refrigeration and equipment. Finished, but did not work for a day. Immediately after university, she went to makeup courses, and a friend arranged her in the salon. Sea of customers and customers. Useful connections. Well, you know what I mean. Once a year, we went to sea with the children. I don't like the crowded brown men's resorts of Turkey and Egypt. Therefore, we went to the Baltic and the Black Sea. In terms of intimacy, we were also all right. I felt like my woman was fine with this sweet side of family life. Always and everywhere. This is my motto in this area. At least there were no complaints from the wife about this. I boldly walked towards any experiments and suggestions of my wife. All this was until recently. But 6 months ago her mother fell ill. Diana threw all her strength to help her. Our mother-in-law's frequent bedside nightly gatherings had a negative impact on our family relationships. No, outwardly everything remained the same. My wife smiled, affectionate sadness at my refusal of intimacy. Well, you understand, I'm so exhausted at work and from my mother. Wait, love, not now. And a soft, affectionate touch to my cheek. This, not now, has become the motto of our married life. Everything is not now, from making love to vacations. And my mother continued to get sick, her wife visited her more and more often. And at some point, she began to spend more time with her mother than with her husband and her own children. Daughter love. This is my mom. I'm not a jealous person by nature. And Diana never once gave me a reason for jealousy. And although we live in a huge city, it is impossible to hide something. Sooner or later, everything comes to the surface. But Caesar's wife is said to be beyond suspicion. If there was anything, I would know. What an arrogant fool I was. It is now I understand that adultery is embedded in the very nature of women, that the life of most of them is subordinated to emotions and passions. Rushing into this maelstrom of love, they completely forget about everything. About her husband, about her children, about her conscience. Everything is a chimera, there is only me. That fateful day did not set in the morning. Coming to work, I remembered leaving the bathroom lights on. It's okay, but I decided to call my wife home and ask her to check. But neither home nor mobile phones answered. I was already going to go home when I was connected to a client. Yuri Vitalievich, kind man. This is Mizantsev Nikolai Andreevich worries you. Could you come to me and see one thing? I was offered an antique platinum ring from the mid-19th century. But I have doubts about its authenticity. I will pay you well for the consultation. The man who spoke had a magical and enveloping baritone, which makes our gender partners so sweet. Mizantsev. Familiar surname. And then I remembered. Wealthy philanthropist. Summer at home, winter in Spain. Owner of several newspapers and a stake in the oil business. Apparently, he decided to invest his money in antiques. Well, if you have money, then we go to you. Okay, I can be there at 4 o'clock. Write me your address. Great. Then I will bring the seller to this time. I won't say goodbye. Mizantsev switched off. I dialed my wife's number again. Useless. Then I called the salon. A kind girl in a sweet voice told me that Diana Sargevna would not be at work today, since she took 3 days at her own expense weekend. Mizantsev's house was located in an elite cottage village 30 kilometers from the city. It smelled like a lot of money from his estate a mile away. After walking down the tiled walkway, I pushed the heavy front door. On the doorstep, the owner was waiting for me, a stately playboy in his 40s, in a house dressing gown draped over a naked body, through whose flaps one could see graying curly hair on his chest. His whole appearance said that he was doing me a great favor by breathing the same air with me. "Please, Yuri Vitalievich." He pulled a warm smile over his face. "Let's go to the second floor, to my office." We climbed a marble staircase and ended up in a hall with a few doors. Behind one of them was an office, and the rest turned out to be bedrooms. We did not have time to exchange a couple of phrases on duty, as the owner's mobile phone rang. "Mikhail Viktorovich." "Yeah, I'm home. Now I will meet you." "Mr. Little, Yuri Vitalievich," the owner addressed to me. "I'll go down, meet the cellar. Please, cognac, whiskey. Help yourself." Without closing the door, Mizintsev began to go down the stairs. I dialed my wife's number again. Where did she disappear to? I was starting to get nervous. Long horns sounded again, and suddenly a painfully familiar melody began to play. I didn't immediately realize it was my wife's mobile phone. I went out into the hallway. The sound came from the nearest room, and I opened the door with caution. In the middle was an undirected large bed under a blue silk cover. On the bedside mat, a playing mobile phone with a glowing screen lay sideways. Apparently, he accidentally fell. For a few seconds I stood stunned, not knowing what to think and do. The heart pounded in the throat, periodically sinking into the stomach. I leaned over and picked up my phone. On the burning screen, I saw my face and the caption, "Beloved." There was no doubt, it was Diana's phone. I picked up the phone and put the phone in my pocket. I raised my head and looked at the bed. Thin straps of her pink bra stuck out from under the pillow. I pulled one of them carefully, and I had in my hands a lace bra in a net from my wife, the same one from the kit that Diana and I bought a month ago. I put it in the inside pocket of my jacket and quickly returned to the office. A few minutes later, the owner of the house entered, accompanied by a thin, boring-looking man. "Meet the gentleman." He introduced us to each other. The guest took the old case out of the safe iron and handed it to me. I was afraid of one thing, no matter how my hands trembled. Holding back as hard as I could, I gently opened the lid and saw a gorgeous antique ruby ring. For a few minutes I carefully examined it with a magnifying glass, then held it up to the lamp, looked at the markings on the inside of the ring and the play of light in the blood-red stone. There was no doubt, this is really an antique ring, around the middle of the 19th century, the work of an unknown Russian jeweler. "I want to give a gift to my beloved woman," the owner said smugly. I silently wrote the report, gave it to Mizintsev, received my fee and quickly retired. It was unbearable for me to be in this house. I wonder if Mizintsev knows that I am the husband of his mistress? I had no doubt that my Diana was his mistress. God, what an effort I should have kept calm. I wanted to fill this puffy face. Fortunately, I still had army skills. I sat in the car for a long time and could not budge. So at whose bed, or rather, in whose bed, Diana spent evenings and nights for the last 6 months. And the mother-in-law diligently hid her daughter's antics. For a moment, I felt desperate. Why does she do that to me? Why? If I could, I would howl. I had to pull myself together. Where to? Okay, I'm going home to close this topic. I turned left and drove. After a while, I drove onto the highway and drove towards the lights of the big city, which flickered with advertising. I have no luck with women, sooner or later they abandon me. When I was a child, my mother left me for a lover. Apparently, there was no place for me in her happy future. And now I have a wife. After 11 years of marriage, she decided to change her life. So to speak, from scratch. What is it about me that women don't stay with me for long? My father never got married after his mother left. He loved me and feared my stepmother wouldn't be able to replace my mother. No woman needs other people's children. And in general, a woman owes nothing to anyone. Raising and supporting other people's children is the responsibility of a man. The rule for cuckoldess and slavers is, not the father who conceived, but the one who raised. This does not apply to a woman. So we lived, two men abandoned by a beloved woman. And then dad died and I moved in with my grandparents. Orphaned with a living mother. Women often reproach men for being too violent. Foolishness. On the way to personal happiness, a woman will not stop at anything. She will sweep away everything in her path. Everyone, including their own children. Women are far superior to men in cruelty and insidiousness. Diana. What was she missing? Love. Tenderness, money. Adrenaline. In 11 years, I never looked at another woman. Maybe it would be worth it. Did she see weakness in my love, convinced herself that I was not going anywhere? Did Diana never love me? Not like that. All these years we lived soul to soul. I would feel false. I would feel it with my heart. Until today, I did not notice any sign of my wife's infidelity. Everything was as smooth as ever. That's what broke my heart the most. Stupid asshole. Diana cheated on him for almost 6 months, tumbling in someone else's bed, pretending that everything was in order. Morning monologues, taking care of the children, taking care of me. And all this, at the end of the day, is a lie. I remembered the words of a woman I knew, a husband is a potential enemy. Do they really think so? And they behave accordingly. How in bed with the enemy? The bottom line for me was obvious. It became unpleasant for me to communicate with Diana, even squeamishly. A cheating woman is like an ashtray. She looks clean, but you'd think someone was putting out their cigarette butts in her. There is more. Against the background of everything that was happening, I somehow behaved too calmly. Maybe later I finally realized the horror of what happened. In the meantime, it looks like a stupor. It's like it's not happening to me, but I'm just watching from the outside. Diana wasn't there yet when I got home. I went to the kitchen, took an empty bottle of cognac out of the closet and put it on the table. But he was in no hurry to drink, deciding to explain himself to his wife on a sober head. Diana appeared after midnight. Hi, darling. Vicky, as always, had problems with her husband. I had to go to comfort. I wanted to call, but I forgot my mobile somewhere. I probably left it with my mother. In the hallway, Diana, as usual, raked her coat and boots. After walking into the kitchen, she smacked me on the cheek. Oh, cognac. Will you pour on me? I sweated so much in a day that it's just unthinkable. You bet. Not every man can stand it. This is such a load. Work, children, husband, lover. I looked silently at Diana. I wondered how she would get out of this situation. Does she admit to treason or will she pretend to be a fool to the end? I'm going to the shower. My wife almost ran to the bathroom. It was clear that Vicky didn't have her today. It is strange if the lover does not have a bathroom, and Diana has to do without a shower. Maybe it's a fetish. Or is it better to launder sins at home? Diana said something, but the noise of water drowned out her words. I didn't care what she said. I was worried about what I said. My wife entered the kitchen in a bathrobe and with a towel on her head. She smiled seductively and poured some brandy into the fourgoure. For a moment, it seemed to me that nothing had happened. An ordinary evening of 1,000. But only for a moment. Diana, sit down, we need to talk. I tried my best to stay calm. Have you ever noticed that conversations about cheating always start the same way? We need to talk. It doesn't matter who it is, husband or wife. It is important that the time has come to explain itself. Diana looked at me in surprise, but left the pan alone. Maybe we'll postpone it until tomorrow? She said, hesitantly, and dipped her gaze. I realized that she had guessed about the topic of the conversation and was trying to take time. But I was adamant. That's it, you behave stupidly. I mean a lover. Do you have a lover? How long have you been cheating on me? I tried my best to speak calmly. Year, 6 months, month. What nonsense. What lover, who cheats? Oh my God, what are you carrying? There seemed to be no limit to his wife's indignation. She is an insulted innocence. A good girl, aptly shoots, not a single muscle on her face. Diana, don't be so funny. I know everything. How much, with whom, and even where. By the way, did you find a mobile phone? Can we call my mom? The wife was silent, gathering her thoughts. It is very bad to be so absent-minded. It is necessary to check if she forgot anything. I put her phone on the kitchen table. I saw Diana's pupils expand and she put her hand over her mouth. Where did you get it? She whispered weakly. I found him in Nikolai Andreeviker's bedroom. I wonder what you call it. Bunny, Pupsik, Kolenka? Or maybe Kolek? I openly mocked her. You didn't understand that. Yes, I was at his house, but for work. I was getting him a manicure. Diana was ready to burst into tears. She didn't even ask what Nikolai Andreevik was. So she knew exactly who it was about. In his bedroom, in his bed. Probably. And did you massage his chest? What breasts, what are you talking about? Diana shouted. She must have recovered from the surprise. I silently put her bra on the table. Pink, with lace. Diana was silent, feverishly coming up with an excuse. To me. I was hot, so I changed into a dressing gown and at the same time took off my bra. You know how sweating breasts, especially in the bra. You men cannot understand this. So there was a strip. I laughed loudly. I was not laughing at all. Diana shuddered like a blow, apparently realizing that the excuse did not work. I love only you, I don't need anyone else. I don't know what you imagined, but I'm telling the truth. We have 2 children, what kind of lover? What kind of adulterer? Diana fell to my knees in front of me. My dear. I'm not guilty of anything in front of you. I only have one man, it's you. Believe me. Diana was already sobbing into her voice, not holding back her emotions. She grabbed my palm and started kissing her. Tears flowed down her cheeks. And there was so much love and tenderness in her voice that it was impossible not to forgive her. Needless to say, tears are heavy artillery. We men are emotionally weaker than women. I wanted to hug Diana, kiss her favorite eyes, stroke her hair, comfort her. Well, really, what the hell is treason? She was just at work. So what, that she dropped her mobile phone? It's all right. I'm not even talking about her bra. It's all right. She's so genuine with me. Yes, I would have forgiven it if not for the familiar antique platinum ring with blood-red ruby instead of the wedding ring on the ring finger of the right hand. I sat listening to Diana's heartbreaking laments, noting to myself that her tone had changed somewhat. The hysterical notes in her voice disappeared, and it even seemed to me that my wife began to calm down. I wonder what's the matter. Did Diana take my silence as a willingness to reconcile? Or did she think she could convince me of her loyalty? It has long been known that women consider a man a special kind of vertical creature, which they closely study, try to feed and teach eating from their hands. The main thing is that he does not bite his fingers with a piece of sugar. It is now I am ironic, and then I sat stunned. I have just begun to get the whole meaning of what is happening. Diana finally fell silent and looked at me silently through tears, probably expecting me to throw myself into her arms. Indeed, what else can be expected from a jerk, whose wife has been walking around for almost 6 months, and he does not guess about anything? Diana tried to hug me, but I pulled away. Where do you get this ring? I took her right hand. Ring? She looked at me bewilderingly, and her gaze wavered treacherously. Yes, that's it, with Ruby. His. I was offered to by a friend, and I took him to try on and vilify him to understand whether it was suitable for me or. Diana has already realized that this is the end, still desperately trying to cling to the words, but she did not succeed very well. Okay, that's enough. I think you better leave. Especially if you have somewhere to go. I will file for divorce myself. And about the children we will decide tomorrow. I got up. It was time to finish the performance. Hello Kolenka. The wife somehow immediately softened and, without ceasing to cry, went to dress. Several times she tried to speak to me, but I was silent. At the door, she turned to me, trying to say something, but I silently closed the door behind her. When you love, you don't need anyone else. Nobody. Nobody. And if there is someone, except for a loved one, then that's it.